So my friends, this was the quality of my videos around 10 years ago. So how do I go from a video that looks like this to something that looks like this? I will give you the formula which you can use with any camera or even your smartphone to make your videos look like this. So in order to fix this video, there are a few things which we need to do. The first thing which we need to fix is the composition. So let's now fix the composition in 3, 2, 1. So this is composition fix. By composition, I'm referring to the overall looks of the video, what is there at the background, the placement of the camera, where I'm standing, and all that kind of stuff. So after fixing the composition with the techniques which I'm going to share with you today, this is how it looks like. The next thing which we need to fix is the light. Now let's fix the light in 3, 2, 1. Now the light is fixed. As you can see, the video overall is a lot better. The next thing which we need to fix is the setting on our device. So if the settings are wrong, there can be slight flickering of light in the video, or the video can be noisy if the ISO is so high or something like that. I will now change the settings at the device which I'm using right now. At the count of 1, 2, that's it. So this will be the final look of our video. As you can see, the only thing we need to fix right now is the audio, because the audio is not great. So let's also fix the audio at the count of 1, 2. At the end of this video, I'll be sharing with you a microphone which costs only $10, and the quality of this microphone is really good. So make sure you stay tuned till the end of this video to find out about this microphone and to hear how good this sounds. So now I'll be sharing with you my 4 steps of correcting a bad video. The first being composition, the second lighting, the third the settings of the device you are using, and finally the audio. So let's start. At the end of this video, I will give you a golden tip, not like a practical one which you should do, but more like a mindset approach to how to actually make good videos. Most beginners think that a good camera is the foundation of a good video. That is not true at all. You can actually get good videos even from your smartphone. The most important thing when making a good video is the lighting and the composition. So that's what we're gonna learn today. So let's start with the simple one, the composition. First of all, make sure your video is leveled. If it is slightly tilted, it will look like something is off, and that is where a bad video begins. Use the ceiling, a cupboard behind you, or the wall behind you to help you to level the video. You can also enable grid lines in your device to help you with this. The next tip is to have the camera at eye level. It can be slightly above or slightly below, but not dramatically high or low. I recommend you use a tripod to get the best angle and composition. If you don't have one, you can manage by piling up a bunch of books or use a cupboard or something else. I'm currently using a small tripod, and on top of that is my camera, and that small tripod is actually on top of an ear cooler. Yes, an ear cooler. This tripod only costs around $15, but one tip though, when you buy a tripod, make sure you buy the best one you can. Even though I'm using a $15 tripod right now, the one which I recommend is actually this one. Alright, so this should cost something around $100 or even less, and there are a few reasons why I recommend this if you can afford it. This can go as high as 6 feet or even more. Also, when you want to make that tabletop videography, you can use this tripod. And lastly, this has a smooth ball head which is very smooth, with which you can get other creative shots. The other thing is to make sure you clean up the mess. For this particular shot, there were actually some stuff behind. I got it removed for this video. Let me put it back just so that you can see how some messy background can ruin the overall looks and aesthetics of the overall video. So after you clean up the mess, the last tip for composition is stay as far as you can from the wall behind you. Right now, the wall behind me is around 6 or 7 feet from me. If you can, make it even further. This will make the background look more blurry, which will make the subject, which is me, pop out in the video. What most beginners will do is they will directly stay right next to the wall, so the wall is not blurred out and they blend in with the wall, so it doesn't make the subject pop out and the video doesn't look good. One thing to note is that if you move farther from the background, more stuff in the background will be visible, which means if there is any mess, you need to clean that up. So now you set up the angle right, you clean up the mess in the background, and you are farther away from the wall. Let's move on to lighting. Lighting is probably where you may need to spend some dollars, but not necessarily. First, let me show you my setup, and then I will tell you what you can do or the alternative. First, I turn off all the ceiling lights in the room, and then I have a main softbox light right here, 45 degree to my face, and then one light right there. So only two lights, the main light and that light, which is also called a fill light. This main light cost me around 12,000 rupees, which is around 150 United States dollar, and that small light cost me around 4,000 rupees, which is around 50 United States dollar. So as of now, around $200 worth of light for this video. But instead of spending $50 for that fill light, you can also use something like a table lamp or even a warm color light bulb. By the way, this fill light is optional, it is not mandatory. You can remove this. The video may not look as good, but it will not be a bad video at all. And for the main light, you have three options. Either you can purchase the main light, or you can use natural light coming from window or ventilator or something like that, or you can actually make a softbox light yourself. Natural light from window is a great option. The only downside is you have no control over that. You have to film in the specific time of the day to get the best look. For me, I have other stuff to do in daytime, so I have to film at night and I need the softbox light. And regarding making your own custom softbox, I have no experience of that. You can actually search on YouTube. There are a lot of hacks. I don't recommend it, by the way. I think it's just simpler to buy a softbox light. So where do you place the light? 45 degrees to the left or the right, wherever you want, and slightly above the face. So not directly in front of you or directly to the side of you, but 45 degrees and slightly above the face. So now you understand how to frame your shot and how to light your video. There is one more thing which you need to learn, and that is the video setting in your device. Shoot at the best resolution you can. 1080p is completely fine if you are shooting in like a Canon or Sony, but if you are using a smartphone or smaller cameras, I recommend you shoot in 4K because the 1080p from the small sensors, as per my experience, doesn't look as good. And for frame rate, you should shoot in either 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second. Beginners like to do 60 frames per second or even more, thinking that more frames means quality. Your favorite movie or even these big movies like Avatar, Avengers, these are all in 24 frames per second. Because 24 frames per second looks natural to the human eye. 60 frames or more is for games, or in video it is used for slow motion. It looks more like an artificial animated kind of stuff. So 4K 24 frames or 30 frames per second, or 1080p 24 frames or 30 frames per second. Apart from this, there are few manual settings which you need to understand in order to make a good video. The first is the shutter speed. It should be either 1/50 or 1/60. So this depends on your region where you are in this world. In order to find out, set the shutter speed to 1/50, and if the light flickers, then yours should be 1/60. For me, if I set it at 1/60, then the light will flicker, so I kept it at 1/50. The next thing is ISO. For some cameras, the minimum ISO will be 100. For me, it is 50 right now. So the lower the ISO, the better the image quality will be, the less the noise will be. But the lower the ISO, the video will be dark. So if your video is like super dark when you have it at ISO 100, you need to increase the ISO, maybe 400 or 800 maximum. But instead of increasing the ISO, try to increase the intensity of the light. So the main point here is try to keep the ISO as low as possible. The next thing you need to understand is white balance. So it is basically how warm or cool your video is. I normally set this to auto in all my camera. You can do the same thing. But if you think the auto is slightly off, you can drag the slider a little to the left or right and see what looks the best. This is the simplest one to understand. If your colors look off, just make it right. The next thing is aperture. This is normally represented by a symbol which looks like F. So the value will be something like 1.2, 1.8, 2.2, 2.8, 3.5, 4, and so on. So similar to ISO, you want the aperture value to be as low as possible. So the lower the aperture value, the more light you are getting to your camera, which means the image quality will be better. And not only that, the background will also be more blurred, which makes the subject pop out more in the video, making it more cinematic, more professional. But the value of aperture is fixed in most smartphones and small cameras. But don't worry about that, because normally in smartphone and small cameras, the aperture value is low, something like 2, 2.8. And here is the final golden tip for you guys. If you actually implement everything I said to your video, you will definitely see an improvement, but it will not be as good as you want. So here's my tip for you. Give yourself 3 days, and during those 3 days shoot as many videos as you can, different composition, different background, the other side of the room, that side, and then hopefully with time you will learn, you will understand which looks better. And I'm telling you, and I guarantee you, after making more than 10 videos, your video quality will improve. And if you're planning to buy a camera, I recommend the camera which I'm using right now. It is quite affordable, only $600. And this is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And this is like the best video camera ever. I have a quick review as a YouTube short which you can watch. Just check out the review, and also I will link the product down below. And also, in order to make good video, a good microphone is important, and this is the microphone which I'm using right now. It is the Hollyland Lark M2. I also have a review of that in the form of a YouTube short, just so that you don't waste your time. It's just 1 minute, and I will also link the product down below in case you want to buy it. One thing, my friends, the price for the Hollyland Lark M2, it is less than $200, but still can be a lot, especially when you are just starting out. So in that case, I have Boya BY-M1, Boya BY-M1, or Boya by M1, whatever you want to call it. This goes in with a 3.5mm jack, and this costs around $10. If you use a camera, you can directly plug this in, but if you are using a phone which doesn't have a 3.5mm jack, for that you need to get an adapter, a 3.5mm jack to a USB-C probably. But if you use an iPhone, it could be a lightning cable if it is an old iPhone. What is up, guys? Right now you are listening to the Boya BY-M1 microphone, and as you can see, this is not a bad microphone at all. You can start a YouTube channel, you can start whatever you want with this one. Microphone test 1 to 3, microphone test 1 to 3. I don't think this is called a bad microphone at all. That is it, my friends. I hope I give you some enlightenment regarding making videos a little better quality. And my name is Renson. Thanks for watching my video. If you are new here, consider subscribing because we do value here, my friend. And yeah, that is it. See you in my next video.